I've had quite a few people tag me in posts on social media and even message me on Patreon telling me that Deontay Wilder has lost the plot, that Tyson Fury's got under his skin, that he's cracking mentally, that Wilder is acting out of character, so on and so forth. And they're saying this in response to the way Wilder behaved at the face-off and at the final press conference with Tyson Fury, and also the interview that he did with Radio Raheem. They're using these as examples of him acting out of character and how he's lost the plot. Now, personally, I don't think Deontay Wilder is acting out of character. I don't think so. I think when Wilder was in the UK for the kickoff press event, Wilder looked nervous. He looked uneasy. He didn't look happy. He didn't look comfortable at all. But all of the subsequent press events they've done in the US, I think he looked far more comfortable. I think in the UK, he was a fish out of water. And the location, being in Tyson Fury's home country, is what unsettled him more than Tyson Fury himself, in retrospect, when I think about it. Is Deontay Wilder frustrated? Is he angry? Yeah, he is. But Deontay Wilder is an emotional character. And anger and frustration are emotions which he deals with on a regular basis. Deontay Wilder is a fighter who fights off of emotion. Now, normally I will tell you that emotion for a fighter is a negative. You want to stay calm. You want to keep your emotions in check. Well, I don't want to say emotions are a negative, but not controlling your emotions is a negative. If you channel your emotions in the right way, it's actually very positive for you in boxing. But when you're just wild and out of control emotionally, that's a problem. But with Deontay Wilder, I actually think he might be the exception to that rule. Because we all know that Wilder is not in Tyson Fury's league when it comes to boxing skills. He's not in his league. But this is not the first time Deontay Wilder has fought somebody with superior boxing skills to himself. Gerald Washington was outboxing him. Luis Ortiz was outboxing him. How did he overcome those guys? By channeling this aggression that he has, by channeling this vicious instinct that he has. And it's that emotion, that passion that Wilder has, which compensates for his lack of technical skill. If you take away Deontay Wilder's emotion, you're left with a technically mediocre heavyweight who doesn't have the ability to step it up into a higher pace, who doesn't have the ability to take the bull by the horns in a fight against someone who's technically better than him and knock the fight out of him and overwhelm him. You understand? Deontay Wilder's emotion actually helps him win fights because he's so limited technically. Now, in terms of what's fueling his emotion right now, and by the way, when it comes to his emotion and his outbursts in the lead up to this fight, he feels frustrated that the American public seem to be taken to Tyson Fury more than they're taken to Wilder. And, he feels frustrated by that. That could actually be to his benefit as well, because it's fueling the emotion which he uses in the ring to generate the power and to overwhelm opponents. But it would also take the pressure off his shoulders, because if the American public were all behind Wilder and all expected him to blow Fury out, if the majority of the public were coming from that place, the weight of expectation on Wilder's shoulders might actually get to him. I saw the weight of expectation get to Wilder when he fought Eric Molina in front of his hometown fans. That was the first time fighting in front of his hometown fans as a champion. And I think the weight of expectation got to him, and that's why he produced one of his poorest performances that night. But if he feels like the American public are more with Fury than they are with him, That's actually going to take the pressure off him. And he feels aggrieved. So he's got more emotion and more fuel in the tank. One thing I would say, though, is that his team should be telling him to save the emotion for fight night. Because fight night is where he's going to need it. Because he's not going to outbox Tyson Fury in a million years. Not unless he hurts Fury badly and then Fury is gun shy afterwards. As long as Fury's not getting stretched across the canvas and having to come back from multiple knockdowns, then he's not going to outbox Fury in a million years. If he beats Fury, he's going to have to overwhelm Fury. That's what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to overwhelm him. At some stage, he's going to have to overwhelm the guy. And to be able to overwhelm someone as big and strong as Fury, who has a strong will himself, to overwhelm someone like that is going to take a lot of emotional energy. It's going to take a lot of aggression. And so he needs to save all that for fight night. Because he's going to have to impose himself on Fury if he wants to win. At some stage, he's going to have to take the bull by the horns, impose himself, and take the fight to him to get the W. So that's my take on it. I don't think Wilder is acting out of character. Yes, he's fiery. Yes, he's frustrated. Yes, he feels aggrieved. But those things can work for him. Tyson Fury, on the other hand, was very calm and collected. And he looks great, Tyson Fury, by the way. Very happy. He looks great. So, and as far as, there was a couple people with regards to the Radio Raheem interview. And, I saw a hell of a lot of ignorant comments, which is disappointing, but not unexpected. Because whenever you're dealing with topics like that, it evokes a lot of emotion in people. People saying all kind of nonsense in the comment section. Some people making good comments, but a lot of people making just silly comments. I don't want to talk too much about that because YouTube are very sensitive when it comes to things like that. These are the kind of topics I cover in depth and without censorship, without self-censorship on Patreon. So if you want to hear me talk about them kind of topics in a sensible, rational, intellectual way, in a reasonable way, then Patreon is the place if you want to hear me talk about stuff like that. But I've heard some people, or I've read comments from some people saying that they think Deontay Wilder is raising the issue of race in order to sell tickets. I personally don't think he is, because he's raised this issue multiple times throughout his career and in multiple different interviews, even when it wasn't in the lead up to a fight. But I don't know that for a fact. Maybe that is what was going on in his head. And one thing I do know is that using race to sell fights works in the United States. It would probably work in most countries. But in Britain, for example, in this day and age, in 2018, in Britain, they don't go for that. They don't permit events to be sold on racial tension or on religious tension. They don't allow that to happen in the United Kingdom these days. But in America, they still do. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you go back as far as the 1980s, and even earlier than that, obviously, but let's just take the 1980s because there's a good example. When Larry Holmes fought Jerry Cooney, that whole promotion was sold on black versus white. The mainstream media promoted it as that. They called Jerry Cooney the Great White Hope. And when Tommy Morrison came along, that's what they called him too. And not the people, not the fans, the media called him that. Same thing with Joe Messi to a lesser extent years later. And a really recent example would be, Floyd Mayweather. He used race. Yeah, Mayweather race baited to sell tickets. Oh, yeah. He wouldn't have been as big as he was or as successful as he was without the race or cultural baiting angle. He fought on a Mexican holiday against Mexicans and other Latinos deliberately to aggravate them because he knew it sold tickets. This sells in America. This is what works. And it's not something I agree with. It's very cynical, but it's commonly practiced in the United States. And the most recent example would be in MMA when Conor McGregor fought Khabib. there was a religious, cultural baiting that Conor McGregor was doing. And I don't even know whether Conor McGregor is actually prejudiced. But in fact, I suspect he probably isn't. But he just was doing it because he knew it was going to sell a hell of a lot of tickets. He understood the American market. That's what they want in America. They want racial tension and ethnic tension and religious tension to sell events. That's what it's all about there. I mean, you look at the WWE all the way back to the 80s when I was watching WWE or WWF as it was then, they always had racial storylines, always playing up on prejudices and stereo. That was what it was all about in the WWE because they understood the American audience go for that kind of thing. It sells tickets. So is there a chance that's what Wilder was doing? Yeah, I guess there's a chance because they say this fight is not selling well. But in my view, based upon what I've seen of Wilder, I don't think it was that. I just think, it's something that bothers him and has been bothering him because of his life experience and, whatever else he sees in society going on in the United States, it bothers him. And that is what that is. When you're talking about somebody like Floyd Mayweather, for example, I've always felt that Floyd Mayweather is not really for his people, but he played that angle because he knew that it would sell. I think the only color Floyd Mayweather really cares about is the color green. I don't think Mayweather is someone who is racist or anything like that, to be honest with you. For the most part. I mean, look, I'm not saying he's without prejudice at all, but I just don't get the impression that Mayweather really cares that much about his own people. I don't think I think he cares about money green is the color he cares about the most. He was just using the race angle to generate money green, Anyway, I'm going to leave it there before this video gets a little bit too deep. Again, anybody who wants to hear me talk about these subjects uninhibited and uncensored, Patreon is the place. But yeah, for now, that's my take on Deontay Wilder's mindset right now. I actually think he's probably in a good place in terms of being able to produce his best form. I think all the ingredients are there for him. It just needs to be saved. The energy needs to be saved for fight night. And the same goes for Tyson Fury. I think Tyson Fury is in a great place. I think he's happy. One thing I will say, though, is Tyson Fury produced his best ever performance against Klitschko when he felt the way Wilder feels right now. That's something I haven't thought about to this second, actually. Going into the Klitschko fight, Tyson Fury felt like Britain was against him. And certainly afterwards, but even going into it, he felt like Britain was against him. He felt like Germany was against him. Certainly his dad was constantly talking about how there's so much prejudice against gypsies in the UK and all this kind of business. And that siege mentality may have contributed to Tyson Fury performing as well as he did. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he'll perform even better when everybody loves him than he performs when he thinks everybody's against him. It's very interesting, the psychology of fighters and what can bring the best out of them. Some fighters perform better when they believe everybody's against them, when they see themselves as the underdog. And when they think everybody is with them, they feel more pressure or they can get more complacent. That can happen. They can get complacent when they feel like everyone is their friend. Sometimes they can lose the desire to fight altogether when they're now getting pats on the back and the red carpet rolled out. So we'll see how it affects Tyson Fury having so much support now in Britain and also seemingly in the United States. Will it be a help or a hindrance to him? We'll see. Drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel. It's that man, I'm out. Join me on Patreon I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.